Hello, everyone. My name is Kayode, and I am president of an organization called 4Ts, Teaching Teens to Think. The mission of 4Ts is to help inner city youth identify their inherent skill set in order to capitalize on their skill set to complete education and higher education in order to get a job, establish a career, and start a business if they choose to. That's just one of the hats that I wear. The other hat that I wear as an entrepreneur, the other hat that I wear as a professional is over 20 years of corporate experience in IT, information technology. The other hat that I wear is an educator, um, as a professor at Fordham University and a advisory board member at LIU. So that's my entrepreneurship hat, that's my educator hat, that's my professional hat. Um, and this is, I would say, my consultant hat, my channel called Candid Advisor. So, the previous video that I did was on relationships, and it was in response to some questions I received in regards to the discussion that I had with the other channel that I have called Perspective TV. It's a lot of channels, so I'm not going to elaborate more on it. But Perspective TV is a platform that I use to discuss in an informal way current society events, things of that nature, with those who are in my network, who are professionals, entrepreneurs, and just influencers. My first honored guest on Perspective TV was my pop, and we talked about a lot: culture, Africa, relationships, education, a lot. So the reason for me doing this live and this filming is to address a serious situation that we as society are dealing with today. And that is the coronavirus, or Covid-19 as they call it. Now, for those of you who don't know, coronavirus or Covid-19, I had the privilege of a friend of mine explaining that to me, and looked it up, and it's very good. Covid-19 pretty much stands for corona. VI is for virus, and the D stands for disease. It was formerly a disease referred to as in 2019, coronavirus. It was 2019-NCOV. So that's what Covid-19 stands for. CO, corona, VI, virus, D, disease. -19, it was discovered in 2019, which is interesting how we just heard about it as of March, probably February, and didn't take precautionary action when we first heard about it, but that's another topic for another day. What I'm going to cover in this this stream, pretty much, is addressing the toll that this virus is having on us as the populace. And I'm going to discuss in particular, or share or provide content in particular to those of us who are experiencing anxiety at a high level. And just a way of helping as best I can. And in the stream as this role as an advisor, I'm going to do my best in providing you with some constructive coping techniques for those who are struggling with anxiety as a result of being quarantined in a home, as a result of social distancing, as a result of fear or concern of contracting the virus, as a result of not being able to associate with loved ones, family, friends, or colleagues. So how I'm going to share this content is with the help of Jada Pinkett Smith and Red Table Talk with her daughter, her mother, and two guests, Jay and Dr. I forgot her name, but you'll see their names, and I'll give them due credit in the description field associated with this clip. Some of the topics that we're going to address here, not topics, but some of the coping remedies or techniques are going to be related to helping people who are individuals who may be going through this feeling of anxiety, the topics that they're going to discuss in particular, that I'll give my personal feedback on as it relates to me. Anxiety, how it relates to parents, mothers, particularly with children, it applies to fathers as well. How high school students are dealing with anxiety, how healthcare workers are dealing with this epidemic and being asked in some way or some form to leave work for their safety. Also, those feeling lonely at home as a result of the quarantine, and those feeling not only anxiety but panic with relation to just the virus itself and not being prepared. Some solutions on how to deal with that. So that's what we're going to get into now without any further ado. And before I do that, let me say this. My Candid Advisor channel is where this channel is designed to ask questions from you, the viewers, who post in the comments section on my social media platforms, as well as provide practical advice on my years of experience on a variety of issues, my years of experience in various capacities, which I just explained earlier. This advice includes topics that relate to youth, career development, social services, financial management, relationships, and general communications. So this is a part of the general communications I would classify as. The insight and perspective that I express on this channel are designed to guide and inform others on how to improve their personal and professional conditions. In this case, personal conditions as it relates to the coronavirus and this epidemic that we're experiencing as a country, as humanity. Please note that it is my goal to offer advice that comforts, inspires, motivates, and encourages you to implement through action the suggestions I offer to help you, as a viewer, subscriber to the channel, take control of your life. If I don't have the answer or the solution, I will do my best to find that answer, and don't hesitate to send me or put a comment in the field with any questions that you may have that I may not have answered, and I will do my best to answer those questions. So now, without any further ado, I will get to the actual solutions without, as I said below.
Yeah, thank you. I think this is one of the best ones we've done. It was for me.
This is the conversation that people are having in their I can tell you this as a shrink, never before has we as a mental health profession taken on something of this magnitude.
World-renowned psychologist Dr. Ramani.
We deal with more challenges in 24 hours today than what we were in our whole lifetime.
And motivational speaker Jay Shetty team up to help us cope with these challenging times.
How do you help people that, because of their anxiety, actually can't sleep?
Relationships will be challenged.
This is going to be a real interesting workout for a lot of couples.
And hard decisions will have to be made.
We have to become careful with whose pain and how much pain we can take on.
And in my codependency, you know I want to. Exactly.
Help from two of the best experts on the planet.
We have both of you on speed dial. Thank goodness. That's all I can say.
Now, before we actually get into this, is Red Table Talk, if some of you have heard of it before. Jada Pinkett Smith, her mother and her daughter. And they do have some very, I would say, genuine discussions about real topics based on what I've seen. I don't watch it regularly, but this, in light of the epidemic that's going on, I thought this was a very informative and helpful conversation that I wanted to share with those who may not even know that this Red Table Talk exists. You can find it on Facebook. A lot of people, very difficult to find and locate on Facebook. So I will also provide that a link to this video in the description below. And if you do have Facebook, which many of us do have, I would suggest you follow it. If you don't like it, unfollow it. But the conversations that they do have in this type of setting is I would say, very, very helpful. And it's the format that I look to for, reference, in a guide. So check it out.
The coronavirus pandemic is causing great fear and anxiety, even panic. And
a lot of panic.
Atlantic panic. You just did that exhibit where
Totally.
you had your album, The Anxiety, come out. You put yourself in a box dealing with eight stages of anxiety for 24 hours. It was really timely, even though you'd been planning this for a while. But the fact that this kind of isolation, this confinement that we're all coming up against, experiencing now, I walked right in when you shaved your head.
Yeah. I felt like I was just shedding a lot of just history and a lot of emotional baggage. 6-7 years of emotions, I let it all go.
I saw my baby girl just transform before my eyes, and I've seen that twice.
Yeah.
The first time you shaved your head when you were 12 years old, and then this time you came into a womanhood.
Totally.
So kudos to
Thank you.
So we've been talking a lot about our emotional feelings surrounding coronavirus. When all of this started to bubble up, and I just started to see all this fear happening, even within myself.
Definitely.
There were two people I wanted to invite back to the Red Table to give us some tools on how to just stay peaceful and calm. Clinical psychologist Dr. Ramani. She is full of much knowledge.
Exactly.
And Jay Shetty, he is here, who is a really great family friend. And, he's what I call our present day or modern time monk. Hey!
Social distancing.
I know, social distancing.
I'm going to give you a hug. I'm going to do this.
I know. First of all, you guys, I want to ask you, I'll start with you, how you're doing in all this.
It's been something. My daughter goes to school overseas. I called my ex and I said, we got to get her home now.
Right.
And so she got very anxious. She thought, what if I get stuck in Europe? Because she had to fly back through Europe. And now she's on a 14-day self-quarantine, as all people returning from Europe need to be. And I have a bigger problem brewing because my mother has a degenerative spinal cord disease. And we found that out 3 weeks ago. She was supposed to have surgery in 2 weeks. So they're both elderly. They're on the other side of the country. I don't want to go there and expose them. Your days and nights then become occupied with, are my parents okay? okay? Is my mom going to be okay? But then I'm also a therapist.
Right.
And my poor clients, a lot of them are struggling, and they're struggling a lot. It brings up old anxieties. People who are living with anxiety, this is a multiplier.
Right.
I can tell you this is a shrink. Never before has we as the mental health profession taken on something of this magnitude. It's all hands on deck.
Yeah.
Jay, what about you? I know you had to push your book back. Was it because of all of this?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I'm just so grateful to you for doing this. It's so meaningful that you show up in this way. And, the last episode was amazing. And so thank you for doing it, first of all.
And thank you
for
both
being
for being here.
I mean it. Like, I just want you to know it. I just want you to know it. It's amazing. But I think for me, it's always showing me what I can't control.
Right.
And shifting to what I can control.
Right.
And so my genuine go-to in these scenarios is, how can I be of service at this time?
Right.
And that usually helps me find my feet at these times, because then I feel like at least I know what that looks like.
I just want to ask you, because not only are you, giving services to other people in a very stressful time, but you are dealing with your own stress as well.
Yeah, I don't think people think about that.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
What are some of the tools that you're using to balance it all for yourself?
Having a routine. And that routine is saving me. Like, I get up and I'm very clear what I'm going to do first thing in the morning. Believe it or not, every closet in my house is so organized. I'm staying in very close touch with folks, with my family, with my friends. That's helping. Getting a lot of rest. I have to say, and I even say that to anyone out there who's taking care of people, supporting people, I'm really like tucking myself in and getting that rest. I love what I do. I feel like it's a privilege.
Right.
And I think at this time when I can actually do that, really focus on meaning and purpose. Like, this is what you signed up for, Ramani.
Totally.
And this is it. And so I have to say that for me, a lot of it is sort of spiritually grounding and saying, this is what this is about. And then you just sort of fight the good fight. But I do go to bed by 9 o'clock.
Literally me.
So
let me address that particularly, and I'll try and be real brief. As we as a humanity goes through this quarantine and anxiety, as it were, it's very important. This is what I do: is develop a routine. I've had death in the family. I'm not going to get into that over this last few months, and what helped me is staying busy, constructive busy, whereas, as they mentioned, also helping other people. So in my line of work, I'm a youth leader. I'm a youth development leader for T's, I mentioned to you already. And it's a way of me giving back to inner city youth, sharing with them the challenges that I've been through. So giving back kind of helped me deal with the grief that I experienced with the death of my family. So as those of you who are dealing with this epidemic, whether it be concerned that you'll catch the virus, whether it be related to either family member, someone that you know, close friend or what have you, who have been affected by the virus, or some of you who may have lost a loved one with regards to the virus, a way to alleviate that anxiety and that grief is to stay busy, constructively busy. The other thing she mentioned was a routine. So if you have a constructive routine, that's another form of being busy, but constructive busy. Hopefully that routine is constructive. The other thing she said, plan your day. So I know that's easier said than done. That's not easy. But if you have any so-called software applications, Google Calendar, Tasks, Microsoft to-do list, things of that nature, I'm an organizer, so it's therapeutic for me to actually plan out my day. This hour I'm gonna do this, take a break. The next hour I'm gonna do this, wind down. I mean, even as it relates to the work hours of the day, that could be very helpful toward alleviating at least some of that anxiety, because basically what you have is something else to focus on. The other thing she mentioned was rest. Rest is so important. Some of you, and I'm going to try and keep this brief, but like power naps. I don't know if you experience having taken a nap for 15, 20 minutes and you feel so invigorated after that 20 minutes. And it surprises me sometimes, because I'm like, hey, I can remember sleeping 8 hours of the day and not waking up, as energized as I am just after taking a 15, 20 minute nap. and that's consistent, and that's a proven study. So rest is very important. I know it's not easy. You're dealing with a lot of anxiety, things of that nature. But if you can find time to rest, if it's playing some soft music, some jazz, some classical music, some rain, nature sounds, or what have you, to help you rest and put your that anxiety at bay, so to speak, very beneficial. And finally, spirituality, belief, faith, scripture, reading the word. I have a channel, my own channel on YouTube, Kaide Bentley, where all I do is provide content on scripture. The last one I did was Does God Work in Mysterious Ways? You might find that very interesting. But these are some of the things that I do in relation to what you've just heard from the professional on Red Table Talk that can help with regards to this whole epidemic that we're going through. So I hope that's helpful. There you go.
What are some of the stresses that you're seeing from people right now?
I think one of the big ones is people just don't know if they have it or they don't have it, or how they're going to get it. And the other one that I'm seeing in a big way is just like uncertainty around people's futures. Like, how long is this going to last? Like, is this going to be like a month or 3 months? Like, I had weddings planned, I had holidays planned, I had vacations planned, surgeries planned, like all this planning that we all do. And that's feeling affected. And then you're just seeing people with the anxiety of like, how's this going to affect my family, my parents, or young children?
How do you help people that, because of their anxiety and all the things that are going on in their heads, that actually can't sleep?
That's a fantastic question, because that's exactly what is happening. People are literally waking up in the middle of the night and having panic attacks. Because, and it's not just about the virus, it's about jobs and money and future and family. People are thinking catastrophically. A lot of it is routine, especially bedtime routine, helping them understand what they can control and doing a lot of acceptance work around the stuff they can't. But I have to say, this is why all of us as therapists are doing a lot of remote work with our clients, because for some of them, it's like a good night text. I'll say, it's okay. Like, it's going to be okay.
They need that reassurance. Someone cares.
And also helping them not feel crazy.
And
so it's okay to really normalize that any reaction at this point is okay. Don't judge your reaction. Right now, a lot of people are interacting with the world from the fear part of their brain. Okay, so that part of the brain is a name. It's called the amygdala, which is a word for almond. It's literally shaped like an almond. And that part of the brain is all fear all the time. It's like the scary network in your brain, okay? Always playing horror films. And so when your amygdala is on, all you do is see everything as a threat. The smallest thing feels like a catastrophe. The problem is right now for a lot of people, their amygdala is driving the car, and what should be driving the car is a part of the brain we call the prefrontal cortex. That's right here. And that part of the brain
is bigger than the amygdala.
It's bigger, but honestly, the amygdala is a scrappy little fighter because it'll just take it down.
Like, I don't care how big you are.
I don't care how big you are. I'm running the show. And that's, in fact, when people have anxiety disorders or anxiety, the amygdala is actually sending all of this fear-based information. And your frontal cortex is saying, actually, because the frontal cortex handles things like how we regulate emotion, how we inhibit responses, how we make good decisions, even things like empathy. But when it's all fear, we are not able to make a rational decision and say, I don't need 700 rolls of toilet paper. Like 6 will do it for now. And yet your amygdala is like, you need all the toilet paper. You need 100 cans of soup. And that's what we're seeing happen, is that I'd really love to see that these two things need to work together. That little bit of fear is enough to say, I got to wash my hands. I've got to keep a distance. But the prefrontal cortex is the part that says, okay, we can do this in a reasonable way. So you better believe it affects your body, and it affects it a lot.
I want to touch on that. Some people may, the whole technical part of how we function, such as the brain, the amygdala, as she mentioned, the frontal cortex, may be, how can I say, foreign to some people, right? I don't know about that stuff. I just know my brain is my brain, what have you. But what helps with anxiety and what helps with fear is information. And I noticed that's what helps with me. When let's get real. Let's deal with layman terms, right? Let's deal in reference to relationships. From my personal experience, when I was young years ago, and I dated this young lady, she told me that she needed closure, right? And make the connection. I'm not getting too far off the epidemic, but I'm just saying how information kind of alleviates some of the fear, the anxiety, the anger. So she told me, when we were dating, that her ex-boyfriend reached out to her and she needed closure, right? And she met up with him. She told me, I mean, it seemed legit. She told me she was meeting up with him on this day, at this time, whatever the case may be. So they met up that day, and that time, what have you. And, it was longer than expected. Fast forward, long story short, when I met up with her, I felt something was wrong. All right. So we're dealing with the anxiety. We're dealing with this fear. We're dealing with the coronavirus. You don't know if you got it. You're isolated. You got all these things going on. Not sure if you're prepared. Not sure of what's going to result of this. So it's kind of the same thing. So I just felt a certain kind of way. Okay. So anyway, she shared with me what was going on. Obviously, she lied. She didn't tell me because obviously we know what happened. I'm not going to put that out there right now. But what it came down to is I needed to know what happened exactly. I needed to know everything that took place because my head was picturing things outlandish, like crazy. The thoughts that were popping in my head as to what occurred between her and her ex-boyfriend, them two, was more than what actually happened, is what I'm saying. So as it ties into this segment right here, where the doctor's talking about the medulla and the abdominal and the frontal cortex, it kind of gives you some kind of context of what you're feeling and why you're feeling it, right? So that way, at least you know what's going on here. You may still react, you may still panic and act irrationally, but at least you know where that irrationality is coming from, if that's the right word for what I'm trying to explain here. And it can help long term, like going forward, if something else happens, at least you have a better understanding of how your mind works, and that can help in the long run. So that's why I thought it was very important for me to stop and share with you the information that she was sharing, not to dismiss it or put it aside, or it's not the answer that you was looking for, or it's not what you wanted to hear. It could benefit you in the long run. And going forward, like tomorrow or what have you, another new development pops up and you're feeling irrational, or you're filled with that same anxiety or whatever the case may be, again, at least you have some context and an understanding of where it's coming from, so that way you can manage it better.
We deal with more challenges in 24 hours today because of what we're exposed to than what we were in our whole lifetime 25 years ago. So we're just hearing about each and every person's pain. And that's a lot of pain to process. And it's almost like at these times we have to become careful with whose pain and how much pain we can take on and feel the weight of.
That's my codependency, I want to. Exactly.
Yeah, you're a caregiver. You're a caregiver. Yeah.
And this has been a real time for me. I have no choice but to let go and let God. You know what I mean? It's so much happening.
Think about it as your immune system. It's like this whole entity inside of you that needs to be serviced right now.
Yeah.
Because we need that little oomph at this point, because a lot of us are going to get exposed to it. If the math is right, 3 of us at this table should end up developing the virus.
Right.
And that sort of recognizing those limits becomes really critical to saying, I am honoring my body so that down the road I can be the codependent rescuer that I was born to be.
Exactly. I love you for that. So explain to us a little bit how stress can affect us physically.
Stress really takes us out physiologically. We cannot underestimate it. Number one, and what's important right now, is what stress does to our immune system.
Okay.
And it makes it less efficient, not just in the short term, but in the long term. So that's absolutely critical. Number two, it also affects our behaviors. Like we don't sleep as well. We don't eat as well. We don't hydrate as well. All the things, we might drink too much, like alcohol. So there's all these things we do because we're trying to cope with it. And then finally, stress is involved with the release of neurohormones that will also, we're going to have impacts on our brain.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thousands of you have sent messages about your coronavirus anxiety. Melissa is at home in New York. What's going on, Melissa?
Hi, guys.
Hey.
I am one of those people who the amygdala is probably driving the car a little bit right now. And, but I kind of think it's for a good reason. I am a mother of triplets in Long Island, which has been hit very hard in our country. And one of my children has 2 life-threatening chronic conditions.
Nice.
So even though people are saying that it's not really affecting children, a simple everyday virus can cause a massive seizure for my daughter. So the fear of this disease is horrifying to me.
Mm-hmm.
And what's driving me crazy is I'm getting texts from friends saying, hey, let's meet up for a play date and let's do this and let's do that. I feel like everyone should be taking much more precautions. My husband and I are doing everything possible. We pulled our kids out of school before it was even mandated. My husband has to go to work. I'm staying at home. But when he walks in the door, I don't let him come anywhere near us. He's running to the shower, stripping down, totally washing himself. I'm like, don't even look at me and the kids until you're completely sanitized.
Right.
And I just feel like that's what everyone should be doing at this point. And I do feel like people think I'm sort of the crazy mom. Maybe I am a little bit, but I'd rather overreact than underreact because I can't take it back. If somebody dies, there's no taking it back.
That's right.
So how can I sort of get my friends to realize like play dates are not cool? You know, everyone should be acting the same way my husband and I are.
Wow. I'd say first of all, I'd say, Melissa, you're not overreacting.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I think there, you're actually kind of gaslighting and confusing yourself. Like you're reacting and you're protecting your babies and you're being vigilant. And that's just being a mother.
Right.
And you know what? I'd also say it's not your job to convince your friends. It is your job to communicate to your friends and say, I can't do this.
Right.
I'm protecting my family.
Yeah.
But you don't need to be their teacher. And that's it. And then you're done. That's it. Because I think you're being a mom, and it sounds like you're doing one heck of a job.
Yeah.
Please don't judge yourself.
Yeah.
Because that causes anxiety.
I'd give up the judgment of yourself and don't also worry about the judgment that you think others have of you.
Yeah.
Because that's going to waste your energy that you get to take care of your family. And you're not wasting energy trying to convince them or trying to see how they're going to judge you differently or change their viewpoint of you. And I would just let that part go and let yourself live without that judgment.
Keep being that super mom you're being.
Yeah. Go, Melissa.
I hope that was helpful for parents, mothers, and fathers who have children who are facing the same like health issues and things of that nature. I'm not a mother, I'm not a father, I'm not a parent. So I hope that information that I couldn't give or share personally is helpful for those who are parents in that situation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Here's a good question from JD. I love my wife, but I need some alone time during this quarantine. How can I tell her that?
Let me tell you, relationships are going to be a hang-up.
Yeah. I don't think people have spent this much time together, like couples, like partners. And it's like, this time's really going to show people how people deal with pressure.
Exactly.
But there's going to be a baby boom, too.
Yeah.
Just saying. A baby boom and a divorce boom, and both are going to happen at the same time.
Yeah. And I think if you're just seeking more space in your relationship, I think one of the bigger mistakes we often make is that we express what we want, but we don't explain why we want it. And so if you just go up to your partner and you say, I want space, or I need space, they don't know why you want it. And so now they're confused. They're now filling in the text of going, oh, maybe he or she doesn't like me, or maybe I'm annoying them, or maybe they want a break, or they're trying to get away from me. Whereas if you explain why you want what you want, then someone has the opportunity to say, oh, I get that. I wanted it too. Because often you'll find that both of you want the space, but one of you is scared of saying it.
I think that's true, because if you just say to somebody, I need space, sometimes that's a trigger for one step towards divorce.
Yeah.
Right? And it doesn't necessarily mean that. It just means, hey, I need 2 hours. Please.
Yeah.
You know,
and say what you're going to do with it. And tell people what you're going to do with it. So it's like, hey, I just need 2 hours to read. I just need this time to watch this show or whatever it is. Like, just be intentional about it.
You know, I think it's also interesting, though, is that this is a great test for their relationship. In a relationship, it's absolutely critical you be able to ask for your time and space. And if that can't be honored, then now there's a little bit of a red flag popping up, you know, that you can't get whatever that space looks like. It could be, we can take walks as long as we're healthy. So one takes a walk, or one, whatever, takes a drive, gives a space. If you have 2 rooms in a house, then you got one and you got one. But I think that this is actually going to be a real interesting workout for a lot of couples.
The next one.
So before we go, one of the things I can speak on person is communication. Very key in relationships. If that the trust isn't there, there's a problem. But usually it's a combination, communication and trust, right? The person has to believe what you're telling them. If they don't believe what you're telling them, then there's no trust. So I think that point is very valid. And I can speak on that personally from being in relationships and being engaged for a while and living with a significant other for 10 years. Communication is key. Sometimes we say things, we assume that the person understands what we're talking about, that they can read between the lines, that they've been with me long enough, or we've been with each other long enough that you should already know. My strong advice is never take that for granted. Never underestimate that. Communication is important. It's better to over communicate, which is sometimes not good, than to under communicate and expect someone to know what to talk. So communication. So to that point again, I completely agree. If you need space, why do you need space? Exactly why? Because you never know. All right. One final thing. Part of conflict resolution hinges so much so on communication. There's so many things being said and taken out of context that's where confusion comes in and the conflict arises. But if you take a minute and in terms of relationships and just go that extra mile and explain, listen, I feel overwhelmed because of the job. This colleague of mine said this on the train. This person stepped on my shoe, or driving, this car cut in front of me, and that combined, I just need like some time to process. It has nothing to do with you, or if it does have something to do with your mate, tell that person, listen, I feel a certain way. I feel a certain kind of way when you said that, or you did this, or what have you. And don't say it as in an attacking mode. In fact, if whatever your mate did or whatever that situation did happened right then take some time, and I use this word a lot, take some time to process that. Think it through, right? An hour, 2 hours, maybe a day. And then bring that up after you've had time to calm down. If it takes a day, then it's a day. The next day, listen, can I talk to you a minute about, something? Well, yesterday you said this, I felt kind of this way. Is that what, so that can alleviate a lot of problems. And especially during this quarantine time when you're in each other's face. Usually you would be at work, you would have 8, 9, 10 hours away from each other in a different environment, and then come together and spend 4 hours in the evening, whatever, then go to sleep and do the same thing. Now you're home, so you're facing each other. And like Dr. Durvasula, Ramani Durvasula said, you could go out, take walks, you can take a drive, so you don't have to be in the house all that time together. There are breaks that you can do in between, hang out with you. So you can do that as well. So communication is very important in articulating how you feel, why you feel that way, and do your best in explaining that to your mate. It'll alleviate a lot of contention and confusion going forward, in my opinion.
From a college senior named Danielle.
Hi, my name's Danielle. I am a senior in college, and the coronavirus has caused me a lot of worry and anxiety. My school has canceled graduation along with other events, and they are kicking students out of their dorm rooms. Classes that I need to graduate have also been canceled, and I'm just really wondering how I can manage and how I can handle this new timeline.
Yeah.
I feel like this is such a deep human anxiety.
But we also have to think about grief.
Right.
A lot of people have lost some things that matter to them. I'm looking at a lot of the college students. She's a senior. High school and college students are losing their proms. They're losing their commencements. These are big deals in your life. Passage. Yeah. And for them, they've worked all this time and they had that vision. There is a lot of grief going on, and to which I tell people, when you're grieving, grieve.
Right.
Don't feel like
it's throwing her whole life off track.
Yeah. So the grief has to happen.
But think about those students who are now in. It's their whole reality in a matter of 24 hours.
I mean, this is an interesting time because people are feeling guilt over their grief.
Right.
Who am I to be grieving when everyone is dying and sick?
Right.
It's okay to grieve. There is no loss too small.
So what are some healthy ways to deal with that grief?
Cry it out. I don't know when crying went out of fashion, but it's so good.
Journaling, right?
So good.
Cry.
Best places to cry: shower,
Yes.
car.
Yes.
You know, like my two. Those are my two personal favorites. Okay, and so cry. It's okay, and then take your grief to that person you trust. I just had a friend call me who lost something big professionally because of this, and she doesn't know if she can get it back. And I said, sweetheart, this is such a big loss. I'm so sorry. She needed that one place because she thought, I'm going to look ridiculous if I took this into a public forum. Everyone, I hope, has their person. And don't just try to fix it. Let them cry it out.
That's a good point too.
Don't try to fix it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of shaming happening. You know, there's no crisis too big or small right now. Some people feel like, oh gosh, I'm worried about my personal thing.
Right.
It's your personal thing, and that makes it okay, whatever it may be. Maybe you don't get to finish your degree on time. Maybe you're upset about a party you had to cancel, and it's okay to be upset, but they're going on social media and often getting shamed. You're worried about your party when the whole world is falling apart, and then they feel incredibly guilty, they feel ashamed and even more anxious.
And one of my favorite ones is voice noting it to yourself, because you want to be heard. Hear yourself. Like when you hear yourself, you actually get to be objective for yourself. You get to hear yourself as a friend. Like you hear your own voice, and you can be there for yourself. And I think that's such an important thing to do. It's sometimes easier to speak it out and hear your own voice go through it.
And because I hate journaling, I think it's a great.
There you go. Yeah.
I do. Oh wow. I do. I don't like. I never have. I don't like writing. Meanwhile, her daughter has a cabinet full of 50 full journals. Okay. Crazy.
I love it.
Some good points was brought out. Crying. I don't know. Listen, you got to be, as men, we got to be careful, right? Depending on who your mate is, you cry in front of her, she might think you weak. You're a punk, especially now as relationships go. But a message to the women, a lot of women don't realize it takes a strong man to cry. It really does. I'm not talking about a cry baby, right? We crying over every little thing. The door slam, I'm not talking about that kind of crying. I'm talking about really grieving. If a man can cry in front of you over something that really, something serious in life, and it may be serious to him and may not be as serious to you, the other mate, or the case may be. But for him to be that vulnerable, that's strong. That's strength right there. Just for women to know and don't get it twisted. And crying is very therapeutic. Tell you right now, I cry. I go through my episodes and periods where I get it out and I cry, and it's therapeutic. It takes a weight off my shoulders. It's a release, and that's what in essence crying is as well. It's a release. It allows you to, just let go, right? So crying is for my brothers out there, the men, don't think that's you're a punk or you weak if you cry, man. Just be careful who you cry in front of. Some women may not understand it. Some people may not understand it. So like Dr. Ramani said, if you're in the car, cry in your car. If you're in the shower, cry in the shower. Someplace where it's private, cry it out. If you have someone you trust, cry in front of, so someone being able to support you in your crying. The other thing I want to mention that they mentioned as well, let go. Right? Trust God, faith. I'll combine all three of those things. There's just some things in life you can't handle. There's some things in life you can't control. It's out of your control. God, give me the serenity to handle the things I can handle and control the things I can control and be comfortable with those I can't, that are out of my control. And I butchered the cliche up, but you get the point. Sometimes just let go of the joint, man. What's going on out here, quarantine, you got to be in the house, you can't go out, just let it ride. Allow yourself to receive new unroutine or unconventional ideas. That's where creativity strives, right? Just flow, just be, just allow yourself to be, and not be so controlling over the circumstances that's going on. See the look glass half full, I guess is the point I'm trying to make. From this situation, look at how this is beneficial. Look how this can benefit you. And part of that is being able to just let go of your conventional beliefs, your conventional control methods, or whatever the case may be. The other thing, voice noting, very powerful. Voice noting is very powerful. To be able to record something and then come back to it a month later, or 3 months later, or sometime later, it's kind of like journaling. It's another form of journaling, but even easier, because now you don't have to. Writing is therapeutic too. Writing things out takes the place of actually feeling the need to speak it, right? But voice memoing, think about it, it's kind of the same thing. You actually get it off your chest, right? And you don't have to worry about offending somebody else from what you said. And you can also go back to what you recorded, like I said some time ago, and to see where your head was at that time. So voice notes is a very good point in regards to whatever feeling. One final note before I end. To be able, I think it's very good to voice note what you're experiencing right now in this quarantine. How you feel, Dag, today is another day I'm stuck in this house. This person said that, I called, that person didn't pick up. I had this conference call, whatever. I'm feeling like alone. I went to the store, they didn't have the product that they usually have. I went to get toilet tissue. I know that's crazy, but they didn't have toilet tissue. Now I'm coming home. This is how I feel. Boom, boom, boom. And then next month, or when this quarantine lifts, whenever that is, you can play that recording back. It's like, wow, that's what I said. Wow, that's how I felt. Wow, look at now. Look at what was the result of that. Wow, I learned a lot from being in that quarantine. That's what I felt that day, but it was so funny because the next day, So voice noting or journaling, I agree, is very beneficial. I do that personally myself, and it helped me a great deal. I do both voice journaling and I do journaling, and both are very therapeutic in their own form. So I just wanted to add my input on that.
Being forced to leave work has been really hard for many, and Cheryl from Kansas has a question.
My name is Cheryl, and I work as a director for the family program at the homeless shelter. And I'm so tired. I'm exhausted. I really am. My family would like me to just step back and focus on keeping myself safe and healthy. But with everything that's going on, I don't know if I can do that. If I step back, who's going to provide services for some of the most vulnerable citizens that we have? How do I deal with the guilt if I decide to leave?
Wow.
Yeah. So Cheryl, you and Cheryl are like soul sisters. So I'm like, you want to rescue everyone. Yeah. Cheryl also brings up a really important concept of what we call compassion fatigue. Cheryl is working with a community that's a tremendously high need that we really need to be looking out for. But as we said, Cheryl needs to take care of her, or she won't be able to do the work at all.
Exactly.
All of us who are in any form of helping, all the healthcare professionals, those of us in mental health, people in critically important jobs, if we let ourselves go, that's when this whole system's going to fall apart. In fact, Will was making the point when you guys were talking with the infectious disease doctor, if we overwhelm the healthcare system, there's going to be no more beds. If we don't take care of ourselves, there's not going to be enough caregivers. It's the same math.
Got it.
Yeah, the way I see it and the way I process it personally as someone who likes to extend myself is I always think about lifeguards. So if I saw someone drowning, if I'm a strong, healthy lifeguard, then I can go dive in and pull them out because I've got the strength to do that. But if I haven't, then I'm going to get pulled in too. And I think that's what we've got to measure for ourselves.
It's really hard.
It's hard. It's so hard.
Because there's so much pain, and you think that you are the only one.
You're the only one that can do it, and you're not. And you're not. And that's real.
That's a beautiful point.
Elizabeth from West Texas needs help with this one.
Working from home is making me feel isolated and lost. How do I deal with feeling lonely?
I think there's a lot of that going on.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, there's a lot of people struggling with the pressure of like, do I show up? Do I not? The guilt of like, how will I be judged? How's this going to affect me after this time period?
Right.
And I think it's rewiring our relationship with a lot of things.
Yes.
Our relationship with ourselves,
Yes.
our relationship
Yep.
with our friends
Yep.
and family, our relationship with our partners.
Yep.
And one of the relationships that I think it's really impacting is our relationship with loneliness.
Mhm.
And I hear that a lot on social media where so many people are so scared of being alone. And there are a few ways that I'd like us to think about it or rewire it. One of the first is that our language, the word we always use for being alone is loneliness.
Right.
But there is another word, and that word's solitude.
Yeah.
And what we forget is that this may be the best time. While loneliness is feeling alone and having no company, solitude is about being the best company for yourself.
That's
And
right.
finding what you love doing by yourself, whether it's having your tea, whether it's reading, whether it's learning something new, whether it's listening to this. Like, you've got an opportunity to find a new you
So true.
in a beautiful way and cultivate that relationship. And at the same time, you've got to recognize that our challenge is not with shared space, our challenge is with shared experiences. So it's not that we want to be in the same space with people,
Definitely.
it's that we feel we're not going to have any more experiences with people.
Yeah.
You can have virtual experiences,
Yeah.
you can have lunch together, you can play games together, you can have dinner together virtually, and you can still have a shared
good point.
experience
Yeah.
without being in the same space. And I think we struggle. We think we have to be in the same space,
Yeah.
but we don't.
That's such a good point. The difference between solitude and loneliness.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
So true.
Alicia?
Another good point, which is one of the reasons why I thought it was very important to include this in this live stream, this conversation in particular, because there's a bunch of jewels that I believe is very beneficial that would help me and is helping me in some of the key areas that, thank God I don't have, to a large extent, overwhelming anxiety issues. I'm more of an introvert and extrovert combination, depending on the environment. But that's very important. And the reason why I think this particular topic is very important is loneliness, right? People who are quarantined, who may not be living with someone else, who are by themselves. It's easier said than done, but I believe it's so impactful and important. Self-reflect, really think of who are you. I'm a believer, I'm a born again Christian, whatever term you want to call that. And God allows certain things to happen for a reason. I'm not going to get all into the whole spiritual thing, but there is a creator. Not one day that I've been on this earth, and I've been on this earth for quite some time, did the sun never rise. Like, for example, it's cloudy right now. You don't see the sun, but the sun is just clouds covering the rays of the sun from time. There's never been one day where the earth, and they say sunrise, but the earth don't rotate. The point is, this is prime time for you to figure out who you are. To a large extent, many of us, as we lived and grown and have responsibility, going to a job interview, and some job interviewers ask the question, well, who are you? Tell me about yourself. That's a very powerful question. And it's a very challenging question for many people who don't know who they are. And that applies to a lot of us. Who are you? Some people answer that question, well, I work here, or I am the president of, or I do this and that. That's what you do. That's your title, but that's not who you are. If you're posed that question and you say, I am the president of, or supervisor of, or manager of, or do this or do that, if you stop working on that job and just say you don't work at any job for a period of time, and in that period of time, that same question is asked of you, you'll be. Let that register. Who are you as an individual? You are a mother who cares for children, who have compassion for those less fortunate who have integrity, character, have, and you know that because of certain situations in your life where your integrity and your character was tested and you came through and proved that your integrity and character. Who are you? What is your core? That's part of the components of being able to identify who you are and answer that question. So this time, as they mentioned in here, solitude as opposed to loneliness is different. Solitude where you enjoy time with yourself. You don't need to go out someplace and drink and get drunk. You don't always have to be around people. You can be by yourself and totally at peace and calm and have fun by yourself. I was blessed in being able to figure that out about myself because I am an only child. So when my mother couldn't be there, I had no other alternatives but to learn to entertain myself. Play a little basketball, and I damaged that, but that's a whole nother story. Messed up, put holes in the walls in the house because I'm playing basketball. But I had that time, that precious time to be with myself and learn about myself, be comfortable with myself. And for those who haven't had that privilege or that prime time to do that, now is the time to learn about yourself and hopefully, become the better of it.
From Alberta, Canada, says she needs advice.
My name is Helisha, and my anxiety is at an all-time high because of the coronavirus. I'm worried that we're not prepared. I feel like we don't have the necessities, i.e. food and diapers. Stores are all sold out. So my question is to you, how do I deal with the anxiety of not being prepared?
So anxiety is an overwhelming fear, and all the systems get hijacked.
Right.
So you can't if you can't figure it out. And think of it like a recipe. Like I'm going to use an analogy like making an apple pie. You don't just I need to make an apple pie. It just needs to exist.
Right.
Like, what do you need to do? You start getting the ingredients together. Anxiety is all about breaking things down calmly into component processes.
Yeah.
In her case, she feels unprepared. So if I'm going to make an apple pie, I need apples, I need butter, so I need to figure out how to get apples. She's unprepared. What do you need? We don't need all the crazy stuff people are buying. Listen, even if you don't have toilet paper, you can make it work.
Exactly.
Right? See, and I think that everyone feels as though all my stuff has been taken away. How can I figure it out? Yes, you can.
Exactly.
And this is, again, I'm a big believer in what we call informal mindfulness. Like you don't need to go off to a mountaintop and meditate for 3 days.
Right.
We're all washing our hands 700 times a day. Be mindful as you wash your hands. Like feel the warm water, feel the soap. There's like a bunch of instances in each day you can kind of get yourself coalesced into a moment and pay attention. Now we have to check doorknobs and this. These are all these mindful moments.
Yeah.
But that kind of stuff for someone like her can also help with the anxiety. And that what ends up happening is you slowly but surely deconstruct the apple pie. You don't say, I don't know how to make an apple pie. Do you know how to get an apple?
Right.
Well, then you're on your way. And then she's got to figure out how to get the apple and then go to the next step. And that's everything is a recipe that can be deconstructed.
So you basically have to ground yourself.
And I can hear in all of her language is either future or past.
Yes.
So anxiety, we know that is always in the past. Oh, I should have done this, or should I do that?
Right.
One of my favorite therapy techniques that I often share is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So it's 5 things I can see right now. What are the 5 things I can see? 4 things I can touch. Let me touch those 4 things. 3 things that I can hear, 2 things that I can smell, and 1 thing that I can taste.
And that brings you to present.
It just brings you into the moment. If you remember that right now, you're like, okay, I'm back here right now. And then you go, here's my recipe.
And I go,
what do I do right now?
Right.
Rather than my mind racing into the past or the future.
Exactly.
My mind constantly making me believe that I don't have the power right now.
Yeah,
Yes,
right. And
yes,
just spilling, just
Yeah.
spinning.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there it
It
is.
is, again, routine.
Right, and you
Routine's
said
a big
routine.
one.
Absolutely. I have the second routine, and one of my favorite ways of remembering routine, everyone can do this, is make time. So TIME, thankfulness, intention or insight, meditation, and exercise. Those are 4 things. It's going to boost your immune system. It's going to boost your mood. It's going to boost your confidence and self-esteem. It's going to get you through this. So that's number 1. I think the second one for me is do focus on what you can control. Unfollow all those threads that you're on, because I feel like right now there's just a lot of noise. Choose your sources. Keep them short and sweet, and stick to those. You don't need to be involved in every conversation about everything that's going on. So be really careful about that. The third one for me is, you really have to realize that your peace is in your power, that your peace and calm can't be disturbed by anything outside, because it's for yourself. And so find the activities that do that. 3 of my favorite things: sights, scents, and sounds. We do not realize how much these trigger us. Most of us are watching the news, hearing the news, and smelling the news, I guess. See things that make you happy, whether it's a show, a picture, a painting, a drawing, whatever it is. View things that bring joy to your life. Scents, change the scents. They calm you naturally. Sounds, put on nature sounds. You may not be able to get out to nature, but play running water, play birds, play, whatever it is that makes you feel outdoors. Those things are naturally good for you.
Turn off the news for a little while. Turn it off. You cannot be tuned to it around the clock. Even our day-to-day tasks have become anxiety. We're afraid to do the things we used to do naturally. Hug people and run into the grocery. So when the mundane things become threatening, anxiety skyrockets. I would also say distract, do things that are pleasant, get plenty of rest. This is a chance to do it. And finally, find a way to do for others. Not only will that help alleviate the anxiety during this time of this pandemic, it is a daily practice you're going to take into a future. And if everyone does that, imagine how much better this world's going to function.
And I want to end with this one. Is just
so there you have it. Let me add to the anxiety that the person felt that was combined with panic. Panic of being unprepared. We had a situation a few weeks back where all the toilet tissue in the supermarkets, relative to where you are, were purchased. There was no toilet tissue left. I'm not going to get into how that made sense or not made sense. I'm not going to talk about that. But I want to touch on that in particular. And the anxiety, I term it as anxiety related to vulnerability, right? So if God forbid, things get worse, and you can't purchase the things that you need, necessities as it were, how do you deal with that? My input to that is, from what I understand at this stage, if you go to the supermarket, as the woman mentioned, they didn't have stuff at the supermarket that she could get for her children. Has she tried online shopping, such as Amazon? Amazon is a pretty good resource that has everything that you need, and they can deliver it to you. A lot of these stores, fast food chains, things of that nature, are waiving the delivery fee in order to save money, to save the consumer money in this particular time. So I would suggest that you check out these online stores to order the necessities that you need, and at the same time get a waiver, get a discount where they don't charge a delivery fee. That can help with regards to the feeling of panic associated with being unprepared. Jay Shetty also mentioned something about a 5-4-3-2-1 technique, which is fantastic. It kind of helps settle your mind and help you focus on the now, not the future and not the past, like he mentioned already, that I won't get into. But that's great. Dr. Romani, she mentioned in regards to servicing, being of service to others. I mentioned that earlier in this this stream that we're doing. How when I had the situation in my life, experienced loss in my life, how I constructively distracted myself in regards to my job. working with the young people and being able to help guide them and motivate them. It gave me time and it gave me space in which to process the loss in my life and how that changed my life. And that ties into me closing this out. I hope, I have another, I'm doing a lot of ums and uhs, so forgive me regarding that. I'll tighten that up. Just a lot. I'm a part of another group, as it were, a collective, as it were, called Grand Rising Collective. And we were discussing COVID-19, this topic in particular. And towards the end, we were talking about this red table talk. We couldn't get into it completely because of the sake of time. We covered a lot of topics, which didn't leave us enough time to really delve into this one. So this is what motivated me to actually add this to the channel, to give in-depth context on this topic, to help those who are struggling with anxiety and panic. So with that said, in closing, I hope that this clip helped you. I hope it gave you some resources in which to use to deal with and cope with this epidemic or pandemic that we're experiencing. I hope it provided you with some good techniques that it helps in some way, shape, or form. And the link I will put in the description so you can watch an entire, you can watch the breathing exercise that Jay Shetty does, which is pretty good. For the sake of time, you can do that on your own. You can play it over again. I didn't want to take up too much of your time with that. And just stay tuned for more content that I will be bringing to this channel to help with whatever other struggles that you may have that I may be able to contribute to or impart or just help with. And as usual, don't hesitate to comment, like, subscribe. I appreciate it if you do. But my whole intent and purpose for this is to share my knowledge. It's to help you. It does me no good if I've gone through all this stuff, all these experiences, and don't share it with anyone to help them, to help shorten their learning curve, or to help them through their grief or challenges. I've been through it, so why not share it to help others go through it? And in turn, you've made it through, then you share that with someone else. I believe that's the purpose of humanity anyway, to be of help to each other. That's what, again, I'm a Christian, a believer, born again. That's why that's the gift of life, to be able to learn and share to make the world a better place, right? To appreciate the creator, to have this experience. And like Jay said as well, it's the shared experiences. It's not necessarily being in the same place with a group of people, but it's the experience that you share with one another, that exchange of energies that help you learn even more things, that help you grow even more. So with that said, thank you for taking your time out of your day to listen. I hope this information, again, helped you. If not help you, share it. It may help someone else. But stay tuned for more content. Let me know if you like this video, click the like. If there was something else that you would have preferred that wasn't covered, let me know. And I'll do another one addressing that. But I'm just honored to be here and be able to share what God has blessed you with others to help your life be better. Take care and see you soon.